Well, as you know, we had the briefing from Mr. Kidva and Mr. Lansus on the situation in Syria, which is unsatisfactory, clearly unsatisfactory. And we believe that under such circumstances, we need to intensify international efforts to achieve a political settlement of the conflict. In this context, the Russian initiative to hold an international conference on Syria is extremely relevant. And Kofi Annan's proposal to have an action group meeting in Geneva is very much in line with that initiative. So my Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, Foreign Minister of Russia, has accepted this invitation of Kofi Annan to come to Geneva, and he will be there. And we are looking forward to intensive interaction among the foreign ministers of those countries who will be participating in that important meeting in order to stimulate the parties in Syria to stop violence and enter into political dialogue. Please.
Kofi Annan shared a plan or agenda with the P5. Is Russia signed on to that agenda?
There have been extensive discussions with Russian participation on the possible outcome, and I understand that Kofi Annan is continuing that work. But since foreign ministers are going to be there, they are the ones who are taking important and serious decisions on those issues. So I don't think one should expect a situation when every comma is going to be agreed in a paper which is going to be discussed by the foreign minister. My foreign minister, as I said, is fully prepared to go to Geneva and to participate in that discussion. Of course, our expectation is that the meeting should be productive.
I'd heard that Mr. El-Kidwa had somehow said that if the outcome of this June 30th meeting is if there's not a meaningful outcome, that this may bode badly for the Joint Special Envoy's continued work.
I don't recall those words from Mr. Kidva. I do recall that some colleagues from the Council, whose ministers are supposed to be there, were saying that they were not yet prepared to say that they are going to participate because they believe that there must be more clarity about the outcome. I think that this is playing it a little bit too hard to get. I mean, we need to show our support for Kofi Annan in practical terms as well. He made it clear that he wants to have that meeting of action group in Geneva on Saturday, June 30. My minister is going to be there.
Sure. We expect for Navi Pillay to brief the Council this week. Is Russia on board with the idea of having Ms. Pillay come?
Well, we are on board, yes. We are on board, and the President of the Council is going to continue those discussions. I also indicated that I'd be very interested to hear from Madame Pillay her views on the human rights situation in Libya. We're extremely concerned about the situation there. Our representative for the rule of law in Libya intended to go there. Unfortunately, his visa was not forthcoming. And there are some serious issues with some Russian citizens in captivity in Libya. So we would like to take advantage of Madame Pillay's presence in the Council, if everything works, to hear about that as well. Please.
Is there a dispute whether she briefs on Libya or Syria? Or do you expect
to my surprise, some colleagues did not immediately accept the need for her to address Libya as well. But we'll continue that discussion.
Annan, that there is a meeting to talk about political transition in Syria. What's the United Nations position? What's your country's position?
Well, this of course is something which is going to be addressed in the document, which is still to be worked out. And this is a key issue where various views are expressed. Our view, Russian view, is very clear and has been expressed on the political level on a number of occasions. We believe that it is the Syrians themselves who need to work things out, and it's not for various countries outside to say what is going to be acceptable for them and what is not going to be acceptable to them. And we think that this is where we should focus our efforts.
What can you do that's different?
You're going to be next.
Yeah. Was there a discussion about the participation of Iran, whether they accept or refuse that?
There was no discussion in the Council, but there is still an ongoing discussion among various players and the more likely participants in the meeting. We believe that Iran should participate. Our position is very clear that P5 members of the Security Council should be there. Neighboring countries who are willing to come to Geneva should participate. Some key Arab League members who are heading various Arab League bodies should be there. And also we believe that Iran and Saudi Arabia should be there because they have an influence on the situation.
I'm wondering what difference the contact group could make if you're saying that they shouldn't express, how can you make a difference on the situation in Syria if you're not willing to weigh in on what should happen next?
Well, you know, we should weigh in, but in a way which would be constructive and would not prejudge the outcome of the Syrian efforts. First of all, we should lean on them to stop violence and to enter into meaningful political dialogue. This is I believe, the most serious challenge which the international community is facing, and I think that the action group can make a difference in this regard.
Are you still going to have a conference in Moscow? And if
Well,
so, when?
At this point, I think our focus is to have this meeting, which Kofi Annan preferred to have in Geneva. So this is, we hope, what is going to happen.
The Department of DPKO seems to be moving towards moving away from a monitoring mission to something that focuses more on mediation, confidence
Well,
building.
we'll
How do you
see.
feel
We'll
about
see.
that?
We are expecting recommendations from the Secretary General. We believe that the mission is doing, even now, a very important job in Syria when it's constrained in its ability to move around the country because of the decision taken by General Mood. And we understand, we regret that this is the situation, but we understand that he had to take this decision. We believe that it is the responsibility of the Security Council and, if you will, the international community to make sure that the conditions are such that the mission, the monitors can resume their work. But as to the future, and we believe that there needs to be a future for the monitoring mission, we need to see the recommendations of the Secretary General, and we'll discuss the modalities for the future.
Sure. As a possible link between Syria and Libya, yesterday in the debate in the Council, Ambassador Jafari of Syria alleged that there's some kind of a training camp in Zintan, which he said is funded by Saudi Arabia and Qatar and is training people to be interjected into Syria to overthrow Bashar Assad.
Well,
are you aware, what do you think of that?
If this is the case, you may recall that I raised that even in the official meeting with the Security Council while the Prime Minister of Libya was here. We believe that if this is true, this is wrong. We have heard also of training camps in Kosovo, in some other places. This is something which is directly contrary to Kofi Annan's plan. From the outset of his activity, he said to us that further militarization of the Syrian conflict would be a mistake and would not be in line with his actions. So that, of course, is very deplorable if this is the case. And, of course, Libya has so many domestic issues that I believe that for them to return to the old Gaddafi pattern of exporting revolution would really be a tragic irony, if you will, of history.
UNSMIC and UNSMILC and the two missions that are in those two countries that you mentioned, Kosovo and Libya, do they have any role in verifying these claims of training camps?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm afraid it's not their mandate. Thank you very much. Please go ahead. Last question. And then you
How can the contact group be helpful if some of the countries are arming the insurgents and
well,
encouraging
exactly.
them
No,
to
you
take
know,
over
this is exactly the problem. I think we need to get together and tell each other, let's be serious. Let's be serious. All those, national selfish agendas in the context of Syria have not worked. The only thing which they have helped generate is a further, aggravation of the situation and growing violence. So if it's time to get serious and to make sure that we all exercise our leverage on whoever we can exercise leverage in Syria in order to revert to the implementation of Kofi Annan plan. Last question, ma'am, please.
Can you tell us a little bit about what was briefed by Mr. Lassus about the current condition of UNSMIS?
No, the current situation, both Mr. Lansous and Mr. Kidva were very, very frank, very objective, and of course their description of the situation in Syria was extremely grim, but it's not for me to recount all the details. Thank you.